Geopolitical tensions in Eastern Europe are once again at a boiling point. The United States, NATO's largest military power, announced the deployment of B-52H Stratofortress strategic bombers to the region directly bordering the Ukraine-Russia conflict zone. This move coincided with the start of Russia's large-scale Zapad military exercises along its western border. The deployment of the B-52H is not just a training mission. This aircraft is an icon of U.S. air power designed to carry a massive combat load ranging from high-precision conventional bombs to nuclear weapons. Its capacity for long-range, non-stop flights, combined with its ability to reach strategic targets deep in enemy territory, makes its presence a serious signal that Washington will not stand idly by if military escalation escalates. According to defense sources, several B-52Hs have entered European airspace and are scheduled to land at NATO allied air bases in Poland and Romania. Their flight routes were deliberately routed close to Russian control, sending a clear message that any aggression would be met with full force. Ukraine, angry and anxious. The reaction from Kyiv was quite surprising. Although Ukraine has received military aid from the West since the start of the Russian invasion, this time Ukrainian defense officials expressed concern. They believe that the deployment of the B-52Hs, while providing a sense of security in terms of air power, has the potential to provoke Moscow unduly. Kyiv fears that Russia will use this move as a pretext to escalate its military operations, including the deployment of long-range missiles or even expanding its strike area into new territory. A senior Ukrainian official stated, "The Zapad exercise alone is already a real threat. Increasing the presence of B-52Hs will only fan the flames of conflict." Zapad exercise, threat or defense. Zapad is a biennial military exercise conducted by Russia and its ally Belarus. This year, the scenario involved more than 70,000 military personnel, hundreds of tanks and combat vehicles, dozens of heavy artillery units, Iskander-M ballistic missiles, and a fleet of Su-35 fighter jets and Tuesday 22 M3 strategic bomber. Moscow claims the exercise is purely defensive, intended to test combat readiness against external threats. However, for NATO and Ukraine, Zapad simulates a full-fledged invasion, including a rapid-fire attack scenario that could cut off logistics and communication lines in the Baltic states and Ukraine. B-52Hs as a deterrent strategy. Military observers believe the deployment of B-52Hs is part of a deterrent strategy, a deterrent by displaying overwhelming force to deter an opponent. By placing these aircraft on the European front, the U.S. wants to demonstrate that any threat to its allies will be met with an immediate response, even with long-range strategic forces. However, this strategy carries high risks. The presence of B-52Hs near Russia's borders increases the likelihood of a military incident. One of the biggest concerns is the possibility of a close encounter in the air, where Russian fighter jets intercept B-52Hs over the border, triggering a direct confrontation. The shadow of a major escalation. With NATO continuing to strengthen its military presence and Russia increasing the intensity of its Zapad exercises, Eastern Europe is now under the shadow of a major escalation. Any miscalculation or unexpected incident has the potential to trigger open conflict between the world's two largest nuclear powers. This situation has led analysts to warn that the world is now on a very slippery slope where diplomacy must go hand in hand with military force to prevent an uncontrolled war. The deployment of B-52Hs during the Zapad exercises marks a new chapter in the Russia-U.S. geopolitical rivalry and tests the extent to which Ukraine and NATO are prepared for a worst-case scenario on the European battlefield.